science, technology, and innovation is being recognised in this region. And what I want to cover in just these few minutes is some of the personal and company challenges and issues that are involved in embracing science and technology and innovation. So in the relatively short time I'm going to take, I want to first of all spend a few minutes talking about the company that I'm working for, SIPChem, which is one of the many sponsors of this event. Not as a marketing point of view, but because SIPChem and what is happening at SIPChem, and my role and activity at SIPChem, is part of this story and part of my thinking on how science and technology and innovation is becoming part of this region. So I think it's important to, this is not a marketing presentation, it's to show the integration of this. And then a few minutes, depending on how much time we have available, on science, technology and innovation, where that's going, and trying to think a little bit about the future, and then what we're actually doing at SIPChem in research and development, science, technology, engineering and innovation. So very quickly about SIPChem. It's an industrial petrochemical company. By the way, you heard I'm another flavour of engineer. I'm not a chemical engineer, so I feel very honoured to be amongst a huge room full of chemical engineers. I'm a polymer engineer, polymer scientist and polymer technologist. And the last 2 years at SIPChem have been an enormous learning ground for me in chemical and petrochemical engineering and technology. So SIPChem is an industrial petrochemical company. Just a couple of pictures of the plant we have in Trevor Industrial City, where some of my colleagues are working. But SIPChem is a growing private Saudi petrochemical company. It's not connected with the government, with SABIC or with anybody else. Many people will kind of ask that question or assume that SIPChem is connected. It's not. It's a private company, independent. Only started in the very end of 1999. There was an initial public offering. But it's less than 12 years old, and the company already has 5 world-scale plants in Trevor Industrial City, making 8 products, which are being displayed right there. We're not talking about those today. So a couple of things. I won't develop this. I was going to look a lot into this, spending versus investment. I tried to just change the mindset a little bit here. I made a presentation not that long ago at one of our meetings at SIPChem, saying that SIPChem R&D is not going to spend a single real on research. What is that? I said, actually, let's think of it another way. How much are we going to invest in research for the benefit of our customers and of our plants and our future image? So I think it's a way of looking at it. How do you use the money and the resources that you've got? Don't think of it as spending, think of it as an investment in the future. Research and development is all about what kind of a company, what kind of a business, what kind of activities are going to be involved with in the future. And interestingly, Booz & Co, what they look at in their study as well is 2 things: the spending, because that's easily measured, and also innovation. How do you measure innovation? They ask the other 999, what do you think about this company? And get a kind of a peer ranking on innovation. And the people who spend the money and the people who are highly innovative are not necessarily the same people at all. And it's quite an interesting study because these guys, as you know, from Booz & Co, they're all very smart, capable people. Many of them are studying thousands of data points, and in all the analysis, they actually find that money doesn't buy business results. It doesn't buy effective innovation. It's not a case. There was a kind of a myth some years ago. I think people thought we spend more money, we'll get better results in the business, we'll be more innovative. But it's not that. There is almost no correlation, from what I can see, between how much you spend and any business result. I think the best case, they found that the spending might be related to the gross margin of the business. So there's really no clarity on how much is enough. This is why we're not like in a process engineering situation where you know that if you change the temperature or the pressure, you're almost certain what the result is going to be. It's actually very unlikely. We don't actually know. It's surprising that all the years of investment and activity in research, we still don't really know all the keys to effective business results and innovations. We don't know how much is enough. You can definitely be spending too much. There are many cases and examples they give. Companies spend spending too much, and you can definitely be spending too little. I think the top companies may spend a lot of money and not detect the results, but for sure the bottom 10% of research spenders are definitely showing inferior business results. So being too thin is for sure not a good thing to be. And this is one of their conclusions, that size matters. And actually what that means is that there are scale benefits in research and development. And this is quite important for us as Sitchem, as we're starting to think, we're a relatively small company, how much do we need to be investing in research and development? If you take the chemicals and energy sector, you can see that larger companies are spending around about 1.6%. Smaller companies need to spend a larger percentage just because there's a kind of a minimum amount of activity that you can have in research and development to be effective. And just a couple of observations. They say that deep pockets can be dry wells, like I said, and you can spend a lot of money but not have any results. And good ideas get stuck in bottlenecks. So, and somebody said, well, actually bottlenecks are at the top of the bottle, so let's not go into all the management stories that might be around that. But this is my conclusion, my analysis of all what Booth and Co have done and all the other work. It's not to do with how much you spend, it's how you spend it. And how you understand what the market requirement is, how the customer is thinking, where the need in the future is involved. So I think it's about how you spend it. And we can maybe put it like that. It's more to do with brains and thinking rather than just a budget. Now, we've heard a lot of things from Dr. Ramadi and other people about how there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that we don't know about. And that's just about living in the world that we are. But I'm trying to think, what could be like a newspaper headline in 10 years ahead, 2021, Tuesday, 26th of October, 2021. Just try to imagine what it could be like at that time. Because you have to think about the future, imagine what the future could be like. And of course, it's all a function as well of how you think about the past. I mean, take us back 10 years from now. Where were we? Where was technology? Where were we? Where was the region? I always think, because I'm a kind of a passionate IT guy, Apple Macintosh user. 2001 was when I bought my first titanium laptop. This was the first less than 1 inch thin laptop computer that ran at more than 1 gigaflop, which was supercomputing power at the time, $3,500. I mean, in 10 years' time, now we have machines that are laptops that are 20, 25 times more powerful and cheaper. I mean, it's amazing. You can't imagine the kind of computing power that we will have. I saw a presentation recently by Ray Kurzweil. He's a bit older than me, of course. He went to MIT in 1965, and he said he knew it was a good university in 1965 because it had a computer. You couldn't get it, of course, you couldn't use it because of the demand. It was about nearly the size of this room, I think, basically, the computer room. And he said the phone that we have now is, I think it's 1 million times cheaper and 1,000 times more powerful than the MIT computer. So that's a 1 billion-fold increase in price to performance. It's amazing. How will it look in the future? We don't know, but we can anticipate. And I think there's 4 features of the future perhaps can guide us. We've heard a little bit about it today, about the demographics. The growth in the young people in this region and perhaps the move to the middle class in India and China. These are big demographic features that are going to impact us. Energy and water, for sure, are going to be always part of the resource issues that we have to deal with and give us opportunities and challenges in science and technology. Education, the great workforce of the future, the young people of today, they need to move into education, and we need to encourage our families, and particularly our sisters or daughters, to get into science and engineering and technology. This is what we need in this region for the future, education. And there's huge opportunity for education to completely change. I mean, we're still in the same situation where we have people sitting in a classroom and somebody up the front who's teaching, and instead of it somehow becoming a learning experience, we're trying to do some new things in our technical centre that will perhaps change our educational mindset. So in spite of what I like to say here is, in spite of the uncertainty and lots of things we don't know, we as a company have kind of two intents for sure. One is to continue to move into polymers and value-added chemicals, and to invest in research and development and technology and innovation. And I just want to be sure here that we don't think of innovation as just being something to do with science or technology. Innovation is applicable across the whole of the company and the business models, the economic models, the financing. Everything can be innovative, it can be different, and I challenge everybody to always think of new ways of doing things. I just wanted to try very quickly to show you what I think is the historical paradigm here, at least in petrochemicals, is to license technology, build a plant, operate a plant, and get somebody else to take the product away. And we're moving, at the moment, I think, into this emerging paradigm where we're thinking about what we're going to be doing exactly, then licensing the right technology, building and developing the plants, producing and optimizing, modifying our processes, and then marketing the products ourselves. This is about where we are, I would say, at SIPChem. And there could be a future paradigm that maybe looks like this. I don't know how far in the future that will be, where research would actually be the basis of the technology that we develop and build a plant from, and then we can produce and optimize and market our own products that we develop. And even one step beyond that, could we even be, in this region, be licensing technology to other people? That's a future dream. I'm going to go very quickly on this. SIPChem is building a research and development centre, a product and application development centre at the King Abdullah Science Park in the Dhahran Technobody at KFUPM, Saudi Arabia. And this is a very quick overview. It's 10,000 square metres. It's going to have 3 floors, a central atrium, open basement. It's going to have a novel polymer facade which will reduce the air conditioning requirement by 40% and which will impact our energy requirements and improve the environmental performance of the building. We're going to have 38 laboratories, including 6 application laboratories, offices for 40 people, including 7 of them for marketing people, 8 training facilities, and 8 expansion spaces to deal with the future. State-of-the-art instruments and IT, and we're planning to complete this in the middle of next year, 2012. And I don't know how well these images come up here. This is the concept of what the reception atrium area will look like, how the building is going to look, the challenge of something iconic and landmark building. We for sure have never seen a building like this. And the challenge, of course, now is, can the contractor build the dream? This is a little bit about what are we going to do there. I've just tried to capture it in 1 or 2 slides here. We're going to be working specifically with a mandate to develop a downstream industry. And part of what we're going to be doing is to discover, invent, and to innovate. And as you can see here, the technology that I normally use on the Apple Macintosh when it's exported to PowerPoint can't deal with it. Sorry about that. So this is what we're going to be covering here. We're going to be doing everything from fundamental research right through to inventing, developing materials and to innovate new applications for polymers and polymer technology. And we're going to have a very strong focus on the downstream industry, working with 750 to 800 companies in the downstream polymer industry to see how we can help them develop and expand and improve the employment opportunities for young people. So this is what's going to look like the SIPChem Product and Application Development Centre. And these are my kind of 3 ideas here. We want an integrated centre that's innovative in all dimensions and inspiring place to work. And just in summary, SIPChem is a highly integrated producer of value-added petrochemicals, starting on the road to becoming a technology company.